Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH1002, and this is the overview video summary for the 17th lecture. And what I'm going to do in this lecture, and there's a few of these planned, I brought this forward, originally I was planning to do this after Easter, but I kind of realised actually we'd benefit from this being done well in advance of Easter, so that you can start to plan and think through the issues that you want to cover in your report, your final piece of coursework for this module, which is the 50% report. And what the report is, what I'm going to do in a series of lectures, I've got three planned. One is about critical thinking, reflexive, and what we call reflexive and critical thinking. The second one is about report structures, and the third one is about academic evidence. And this is a set of ideas which will hopefully see you through the rest of your academic journey, and hopefully be something that you can apply in different ways for different types of projects that you're working on and different types of activities that you're going to undertake, which require a kind of thinking, cognitive, smart skills, thinking skills. I posted onto DMU Talk an interesting article about that a colleague of mine had shown me on Twitter, which is about the types of intelligence that we will need going forward. And I think there's a really interesting discussion to be had about this in terms of what kind of thinking needs to dominate. And we usually have, the kind of intelligence quotient, IQ, is often the dominant one of how we're measured by our intelligence. But then it's been popular over recent years to talk about our emotional intelligence as well, how well we bond and understand and manage our relationships. Certainly something which is at the heart of social media. But there's another element of intelligence, which is adaptability, and our ability to change and to incorporate new ideas and to shift our perspectives. So one of the things that we are using through this module are techniques about evaluation and critical re-examination of the things that we maybe take for granted, or the things that we've not formed a strong view about, but which are emerging and which are disruptive and which change the nature of the social world around us and the media world around us. So this is a step along that journey to be able to understand the academic thinking skills that will enable us to be clear, well-developed, articulate thinkers who aren't just told what to do. The aim of a degree is to come out being a potential leader who designs and develops the new ways and adapts the new ways to the new social arrangements, and isn't somebody who is just told what to do. And I think that we really have to remember that distinction. Anyway, so what we'll cover in this lecture is there's quite a lot that we'll go through, and I'll try and this is something which I think is applicable each year. So what I'll be doing this is introducing you to these concepts, not expecting for you to be expert in these concepts as yet. This is the first time we're going around the block with them, if you like. And what we want to do is we want to become familiar through our practice over the next 2 or 3 years in terms of how we actually develop a sense of understanding about this. So we put deeper roots down. So there's the big question is, why critical thinking? What is distinct about critical thinking? And I think it's important for us to look at things like the core skills. And this is maybe stuff that you've seen and you've used in your learning previously. And we want to think about how this can kind of be put into practice for what we're hoping to achieve. So the core critical thinking skills that are usually discussed are things like analysis, developing interpretations and explanations, evaluating ideas and concepts and situations, and drawing inferences based on the level of evidence that we can gather together. Now, this is all really about the process of moving away from, if you like, our own prejudices and assumptions. Now, this is built into what we do. We're hardwired to tell stories about the world, But some of those stories can be mistaken, some of those stories can be misplaced. And the best way to think about this is in terms of really the academic critical process, what we might call the scientific process, is to say we make assumptions about cause and effect. We say we see something and we assume that it was caused by a particular pattern of behaviour or a particular set of processes or activities. But when we examine things and when we build up evidence over a longer period, we start to see that actually the sources and what gave rise to these issues are things that actually are not so clearly related. So you can't make automatic assumptions about things. And that's the academic process, to be able to question and understand how and why a particular set of social situations and scenarios are as they are and how they might be in the future. But based on empirical evidence, logical, verifiable examination, and conversation and discussion to share our perspectives about these things. So this is an open process of learning. So what we'll work through are things like kind of, a model of critical thinking, a model of what we call literacy, a model of we've looked at this in terms of digital literacies and digital skills, but also we need to think about our problem solving skills and our capabilities and our problem posing skills and the kind of questions that we should be raising and asking. And this module is full of questions and very few answers. So this is a problem posing approach which hopefully gets us thinking and kind of changes the direction that we might have assumed prior to this kind of style of learning, so that we don't just assume what people are telling us, that we go out and we independently verify what is there, and we learn from each other in that process. So we're not relying on somebody's status or the hierarchy because of who they are within social prefixed social relationships, but we understand and can use our independent knowledge in order to contribute to a debate and a discussion about how things might need to change or are changing. So it's those kind of interactions. And we kind of, some of this we kind of automate, but some of it's about challenging the way and the structure of the way that we think. So I think a good question is what are the capabilities that we need? Now, I think a really good question for this is to ask yourself, in 10 years' time, when you've graduated, you will be running your own company, working as a senior producer in a company. You'll have experiences if you go into teaching, whatever the role is, wherever the profession is that you go into. That is the point when you start to be involved in the process of recruiting new people to come in the company. So let's ask this question. What would you teach the next generation of teachers who will train and teach the generation of people who will come that you will want to employ? So what are the priorities? What are the looking forward, thinking forward, what are the things that we need to teach people? And that is at the heart of this discussion. So do we just rely on the things that we already know? Do we fall back on our assumptions? Or do we question and challenge and debate and discuss and use alternative approaches to problem solving, which can give us a broader view and can manage a social situation in different ways than we've achieved in the past, which are more sustainable, more equitable, more enjoyable and more fulfilling, which I suppose is our aim. So, right, the notes for these sessions are up on the DMU Commons wiki. So if you go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk and look for TECH1002, and they're in the lecture sections. If you want to carry on the conversation, if there's any examples, any ideas that you want to share, use the DMU Talk platform, which is talk.our.dmu.ac.uk. Don't forget that you can download that as an Apple or an Android app. so you don't just have to use it sat at a PC. And let's share some ideas and pose some problems using those platforms. But I'll see you at the lecture.